welcome back to Basement Binge always. It's been quite a minute or two, but let's get into this. This week is Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, whatever this movie's called. Edge of Tomorrow. First watch for me. Anyway, I'm Harrison.
I'm Kelton.
And I'm Cade.
And let's get started immediately into our spoiler wall. As always, this is our 1 minute of timed thoughts, immediate reactions to the movie without spoiling it. Then at the end of the minute, if we would recommend it or not. So, Cade, you want to pull up a timer for us?
We're ready.
As your timer, man. And Kelton, since this is you want to pick, you get to go first.
Let's do it. All right, this movie. I love this movie, guys. Like, I watch this movie maybe twice a year. When I got home from my mission, I was like, okay, I got to watch this again. Because it's just, I find it's so enjoyable. I think it's pretty dang funny. Like, the whole idea behind this whole movie, they make it pretty interesting. Is because this movie's about like war, and sometimes with this type of movie, it could be really hard, I guess, to make it interesting without giving too much away. But I think it was very funny, and the action was sweet. The whole idea of it's hard not to get into spoilers, but the plot just gets me every time. It's so interesting and just really cool and well done. Some great actors in this movie. I love Tom Cruise. Anyone with Tom Cruise is amazing. But Edge of Tomorrow is a great war movie without any gore. So I think it's good for kids too. So very enjoyable.
All right, I guess I'll go ahead. Okay, so this movie is So there's been movies before, like Groundhog Day, where it was kind of like you repeat the same day over again, or repeating the same scene. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the movie. I think it's called Vintage Point. It's the same scene, but it's repeated over and over again. Now there's some movies, there's a point where it gets kind of dull, or it gets kind of old, or it's the same thing over and over again. It's even though it does repeat over and over again, the story still continues without losing its integrity. This movie it's jam-packed in its cast, and so I love this movie because of its action. But speculation, I like to talk about after this movie. It's a whole lot of fun, and I can repeatedly watch this movie. That's my suggestion, and I suggest to you is to watch this again and repeat it and watch it again.
Sorry, that was a dumb pun.
That's funny. All right, okay. First time watching this movie, man, that was great.
Oh, no, I was joking about something I said.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so first time watching this movie, great time. Thanks for finally showing this movie to me. I've had it for a while, since Black Friday, and just actually way before that. Anyway, I haven't watched it. Finally did. Holy smokes, it was a ton of fun. Casting is beyond next level. The war scenes in it, the action is really, really well done, but it's surprisingly clean action. Yeah. The CGI in this movie is amazing. And I knew the premise of the movie, that Tom Cruise character had some alien ability to live the same day over and over again. He just had to die. Mm-hmm. But this movie goes in such a cool way with that. And it's like Cade said, that literally they reuse the exact same shot multiple times throughout the movie, but it's done in such a way that it's you get excited to see it again. Or it's it makes it cooler, or makes it more scared, more, I don't know what the word, I don't know, more intense. That's the word I'm searching for. It's just the story is so unique and really, really cool. The casting is phenomenal. The music is sweet, and it's just a ton of fun to enjoy. It's one of those movies that you just each time you're watching, you're just yeah, this is fun. This is enjoyable.
And there's our spoiler wall. So if you haven't seen this movie, go ahead and pop that into the DVR, Blu-ray, wherever you watch this movie, and come back to us.
We never answered our question. Would you watch this movie? Would you recommend this movie?
Si, senor, dude. 100%.
Yes, 100%. Especially if you haven't. Even if you have seen it, I recommend to go rewatch it.
Yeah, it's just fun all the way around. Like I said, I've seen this 1,000 times. Well, not if I had to actually put a number on it, I've probably seen this 12 times or so.
Whoa.
But that's how much I love this movie. And you'd think with a movie like this where it can be repetitive.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. But it's just a lot of fun. The action is cool. And just the plot engages me every time.
Yeah.
It really sucks you in, so I would definitely recommend this. So go check it out.
Yeah, so thanks for listening to our spoiler wall, like Kate said, and subscribe to the podcast. Go enjoy the movie. Everybody else, just keep listening.
Yeah, we'll continue forward. This is our first segment of our regular podcast. The
regular scheduled program.
Regular scheduled program.
After this short break. So, super quick announcement, actually, legit break. Thanks to everybody who participated. That's the word I'm searching for. I was thinking of contributed, and that does not work. But participated in the little small giveaway we had where I just had some extra digital codes for movies. People submitting their favorite movies. It was fun to see the different takes. People, what type of movies they like. Also, we were just featured, if you guys listen to, it's called Earbuds Newsletter. It's like a weekly newsletter about podcasts where people talk about different, like a different theme. This next week we'll be involved in that, coming out on Sunday, that newsletter. So pretty sweet. Anyway,
that's pretty cool. Thanks,
yeah. So everybody involved in that, thank you. Follow us on social media and subscribe to the podcast, all that good stuff.
And just another announcement, just to keep you guys updated, because it's cool to learn about. As of today, we're at 730 downloads. How many episodes have we done now? Is it something like
27?
I think it's like high 20s.
I can check right here super quick.
But it's just cool. You have, our fan base is pretty small. I think we all know that, but it's cool to kind of see it grow every day. And I've talked to a couple of people who've listened to our podcast, and it's just fun, and it's really awesome just because I really enjoy doing this, and it's cool to know that other people can listen on this conversation we have every week about cool movies. Mm-hmm. And we just hope to continue doing this and getting those downloads going up. So
yeah. But what's really cool is that it's having the conversations with other people who hear what we have to talk about, or just other kind of conversations. Like before, we had a conversation with this. I can't remember his name. His name is, if I remember right, his name's Anthony. We got talking about Star Wars and the Rise of Skywalker and all the other movies within that universe, and that's just fun. And so we want to continue doing that. So thanks to you guys and all boys and girls participating. So let's keep on cruising.
Yeah, download the show, share it with your friends, tell them to go download it, and yeah, we'll continue on with our regular scheduled program. Everybody who's a fan here listen to it, so they know this is how it breaks down. We start with our 2 cents, which is 2 minutes of uninterrupted time. Now, full-fledged spoilers coming out here, but yeah, 2 minutes to talk about our thoughts about the movie, followed by Does It Live Up? Because this is the first time I've ever seen this movie, where we talk about why whoever picked the movie wanted to share it with the person who had not seen it, and the person having not seen it, what they thought about it the first time. Followed by Pick Your Poison, which is our personal rating scale, binge points, least and likes, and then lastly Fall In, where we talk about any meanings or messages we found in the film this time.
Yeah. So let's get to it. Number 1 segment on our podcast, 2 cents, our knee-jerk reaction. No interruptions for anybody else. Kelton, want to kick us off?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, you're on the clock.
All right, I think this movie does a really good job of showing Nicolas Cage's his whole progress of having this superpower.
Nicolas Cage.
Sorry.
Cage.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that his name? It's Bill Cage.
I think it's Bill Cage.
Yeah, Bill Cage. My bad, not Nicolas Cage.
Bill Cage.
What?
Anyway,
sorry, Bill Cage.
Now you're back on.
All right, yeah, Bill Cage. I think it does a really good job of showing his progression of having this power, because I think at first, he's completely confused, what the heck is going on, and you could see his determination, his motivation levels kind of go up and down throughout the movie. But I think this movie does a great job of just showing kind of the what's the word for it, that, not depressing, no, but but how everything kind of loses meaning with him. Yeah, I can't remember the word, but you guys know what I'm talking about. How over time, you could just see it just wears on him, and how there's kind of no escape, especially the scene where he escapes from the military base and he goes out and gets a drink. He's just chilling and kind of enjoying the moment, and then 5 seconds later, the mimics show up and kills everybody. So it's kind of like you could just feel like the weight of almost the entire world on his shoulders as he realizes like he has to step up and do something. Even though it kind of sucks, you make one mistake, you forget to like duck a certain way, and you die, and you have to relive the entire day all over again. Like that would get so boring and like mundane and everything. So I think this movie really captures that really well. And so it just makes it more relatable. Like you're on Bill Cage's like side the entire time, and it's cool to watch him like develop into like some super soldier and then just kick butt. And so when the final scene comes, or the climax, where there actually is a lot on the line, it just makes it really intense and fun to watch. So I love it.
All right, great 2 minutes. Even though we interrupted you a few times, we try to keep the integrity of your clock. All right, so my 2 cents. Let's get going. This movie, I want to know how many times he actually went back.
How many times he died?
How many times he died? Because think about it, he felt he didn't just like die. It's like a video game. You're just like, oh frick, I got blown up. I got to start over again. It's more of like, yeah, he felt every pain from that death. Oh, man. And I want to say, is it possible that he died enough times to, you know, accumulatively live through that day for a full year?
Oh yeah.
Is that possible? Because there's a
How
lot
long
of.
was he living? Like, wow, that's a weird thought.
Probably.
Because it's a whole lot of time. It's a whole lot. But there's little key moments where it's like, okay, this is the first time us seeing this scene, but Tom Cruise / Bill.
Not Nicolas Cage.
Bill Cage, you recognize that he's been in that moment already. So what I like about this movie, they didn't explain, or they didn't show every time he went back, like in Groundhog Day, or they kind of skip over some stuff. But to the point where it progresses the story, but you have to think, how many times does he go back in time? Just imagine that, reliving a single day, which is pretty horrible day. You die every day for a whole year. I don't know if that is actual year. I want to look up the number after my 2 cents while Harrison does his. But I like that feeling, and I like how he progresses from just a straight up noob to this hardened veteran who just he cuts off all emotion and feeling. He just goes and saves the day. But he has this attachment, and he wants to still bring humanity with him to save humanity. And that's a lot more about Fallen, which I want to talk about. But this movie is solid. Full Metal Solid. Let's do the movie.
That was a joke.
But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Here we go.
So yeah, this movie, watching it for the first time especially, it's just like we've said before, it's a ton of fun, but the idea is like really new, and it's really amazing to see the character development, but also like the contemplative things, and just like the way they redo the repetitive nature of it, that like you really don't know, like, okay, you're seeing something, this is like what Kate said, but like you're like, oh, this is the first time he goes through it, but then he like tells Emily Blunt's character, whatever her name is, like, oh, we need to do this, and you're like, oh, how many times has he lived this? Like enough to memorize it exactly. And like, seriously, how long did that take? But then I loved how it wasn't just, okay, he repeats the same day over and over again and becomes a super soldier, and then the super soldier whoops the alien's butt. It was like, by living the same day over and over again, he developed a relationship with somebody. And like, that was difficult for him. And like, I don't know, I was just really, like, I was not expecting this movie to go there. Like that scene with the helicopter where she's like, how many days have we been here? I was just like, that, first off, they're acting in both of that. I was just like, whoa! But I was not expecting this movie to go there, and I was really impressed with it. The action is a ton of fun, and it's really cool to see, like, it's so weird, like, when you've seen him in a situation and it's stressful, like, I'd be like, yes, now he's learning, like, it's a good thing that he's dying. And then, like, of course, you're like, okay, this day, did he die because Emily Blunt shot him in the head, or did he die because he got killed? Like, how do you know? And then it's just, there's so much to, like, contemplate about, but the action is just so good. And it's, like, really cool how, like, not in the same way as other movies, but like they really are able to tell a story and strong character progression through the action. But because of the repetitive nature, it's such a different way than any other, like, like other movies are good at telling the story or progressing the story through action, but this does in a different way. Is this 2 minutes yet? This feels really long.
You're about to end.
Okay. So, yeah, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I'm excited to rewatch it and like look for all the details and things, but
there you go.
I guess I'm done.
Dang. All right, that goes to Live Up. This is our section where I kind of talk about why I chose this movie, and then Harrison will explain whether it lived up to his expectations or if it was as good as he kind of had heard about or anything. So I kind of already touched on this, but the reason why I chose this movie, part of it was because, Harrison, you haven't seen it yet. I remember we talked about it over the summer. And I just think this is a personal favorite. Like, it's probably my top 10 favorite movies. I remember when I watched it, like, when it came out in theaters in 2014, and I was just like, that was so sick. Like, it was just hilarious. It's like the kind of humor that I really enjoy, where it, like, kind of a super intense moment, and it's kind of makes it seem abstract, and in a funny way. Like, you normally wouldn't be laughing if, like, someone just died on screen. But, like, the way it happens in this movie, it's pretty dang funny. Like, when he saves, like, Kimmel or whatever his name from the falling, like, plane, he saves him, but he gets smashed. And then it, like, without any, like, interruption, it skips right back to the same moment. And then it shows him actually, like, doing it right. Yeah. And then, like, 5 seconds later, he's running, and then he's, boom, blasted by a truck. And then, boom, it's right back to him doing it, and he runs a little faster and dodges the truck. Like, so that kind of humor just is so... I just find it hilarious. I don't find like people dying hilarious, but in that context, it was just fun to watch. And I love the music, like the soundtrack. In the trailer, I think it's the first trailer. Fantastic trailer, by the way. Like if you watch this movie, I would recommend, if you haven't seen it yet, like watch one of the first trailer because the soundtrack is really cool. Like I remember I'd fall asleep to this soundtrack just because it's so sick. I think the song's called "This Is Not the End" by like Fieldworks or something. I can't remember, but I love the soundtrack and just you get so hyped watching this. It's fun just to see. I guess the main reason is to see someone, just some innocent like civilian dude, have to learn to be a soldier, and how at first he just sucks and like he doesn't know where like the safety is on the gun, but eventually he's just like balling out and killing aliens and stuff. So that's probably the reason why I chose this. So, all right, Harrison, does it live up?
Okay, so the first to share my expectations. My expectations were that it was a Groundhog Day action movie with Tom Cruise in it, and that everyone I talked to about it had really good things to say about it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that movie's great," and that like. So my expectations was that it was a Tom Cruise action movie that repeated itself, that when everyone talked about it, people loved it, but it wasn't like actively talked about.
Yeah.
And then today, I've realized that Emily Blunt was in it, and then I was way pumped for it because I love Emily Blunt. And then it just totally blew all my expectations. Like it went to emotional depths that I wasn't expecting. The action was way better than expecting. It was way funnier than I was expecting. The acting was, and casting, I was just expecting it to be like a typical action movie and just like Tom Cruise being Tom Cruise, but it's like Cruise being Tom Cruise and like the best meaning of that. You know what I mean? It definitely is up there on my list. Definitely a movie I'm going to rewatch, but like it was just completely exceeded my expectations. Like that sounds kind of repetitive because we've been watching a lot of really good movies for the first time, but like it's because they're good movies that like you really can't expect it. Yeah, it was great. So did it live up? Yes, it did. So
Perfect.
Moving right along to the next segment of Pick Your Poison. So this is our personal rating scale. At the bottom of the list is to never watch it again. Right above that, kind of the middle of the road, as if it was on a streaming service you were already subscribed to and you needed to watch a movie, you would watch it. Above that, kind of the second place, if you will, is you would rent it. You pay money at a Redbox or Vudu or Amazon or whatever, rent it. And top of the list is you'd buy it. Pay as much money as you can for it and watch it over and over again. So my personal pick your poison would be to buy it. I mean, I already bought it without owning it, but that's just like because I buy movies. Like that's just slightly my personality. So strictly like thinking very critically of the rating scale, would I buy it or rent it? I would buy it because I know this is a movie that like genuinely is one that I would want to watch again. I know I will watch this again. Like there's some movies that you're like, that's a good movie.
Especially like action movies. Some it's like you watch it and it's like, that was cool, but it's
not as
lost
good
the
second
thrill.
time.
Yeah, like the mystery.
Yeah.
You know.
And this is, and like, I would want to watch it again for the details, but also just because I know that I would enjoy it. Yeah. Just because there were so many highlights of this film. So yeah, Pick My Poison, I would buy it. I already did.
There you go.
So for my Pick My Poison, I actually do own this movie. That's why I've been able to watch it so many freaking dang times. So yeah, this would be a movie. I don't know if I put it on the scales like where I like kind of like Interstellar, where you gift it to someone. But I would say I would definitely buy this, and if someone hasn't watched it, I was like, oh, let's go watch it like right now. You'll enjoy it. Like it's a blast. So I own it. If you don't own it, I'd recommend buying it. So
there you go. My pick my poison. I would say I would buy it for myself, because this movie is not for everyone. Because it's just a different feel to it, but it is definitely a worthy for me to have because it's a great movie to come back to. Its longevity is pretty solid, I'd say so. That's mine.
So I think it's pretty obvious that all of us here are pretty big fans of action movies.
definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'd all buy it.
All right, Kate, I think that goes to you with the next segment.
The next segment. Here we go. This is binge points. This is references within the movie, references that are small, big, obvious, hidden, or things that we even picked up that weren't even obvious or intended, and we just kind of chat about it. One reference. It's kind of hard because I haven't watched this movie in a long time. So I was just watching this movie just to watch it.
There's one that I noticed. I love that. Okay, what's Emily Blunt's character's name?
Rita.
I love that Rita uses a freaking helicopter blade as a weapon. And then later knowing that she had the repeat ability. Okay, what happened in a battle where she picked up a helicopter blade and was whooping some mimics with it, and then she died, and she's like walked up to somebody, give me a helicopter blade and sharpen it, like what happened?
Yeah, this is a movie where I would definitely, even though I know what would happen, I would totally enjoy like a prequel.
Yeah,
because you always hear like the Angel of Verdun, Rita Vataski, like killing hundreds of mimics, and
especially watching her fighting it. She's like flipping around.
Yeah, freaking chopping mimics in half and stuff.
Boss.
And then it's cool. I don't know, so we've kind of mentioned, I don't know if we have mentioned it, but there's like talk of making a second Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes.
And we were kind of looking it up, and we know that Hendrix is in it. For those who didn't catch it, Hendrix was like Rita's dude that she like supposedly loved. At the Battle of Verdun, she didn't want to talk about it, but we know that he ends up dying. So maybe Edge of Tomorrow 2 is like a prequel and we get like that taste of that. But I totally agree with you, Harrison. Like, I would totally love to see like how the Angel of Verdun became the Angel of Verdun and stuff like that. Yeah. So pretty dope. But yeah, helicopter blade for the win, dude.
Yeah. Here. So I've been kind of watching on this little segment that out on YouTube. It's called How Many Deaths in Edge of Tomorrow? And so right now it's totaled up to 13 years.
13 years?
What? Wait,
how the heck did they get to that math?
Now there's a lot of variables. So because there's different possibilities of so number one his training montage. And
how long was his training for?
They estimated for about a year and a half of his training montage to be as good as he was. They estimated about a year and a half.
I thought they were like doing the math of how, like just like
on screen. How
yeah, but
that.
I see that.
He on screen he died 24 times. On screen, that ones that in the movie he died 24 times.
Watched him die.
We watched him die 24 times.
But he definitely died.
We know there's
But he died more than that. So now they put into account how many future anticipations where he anticipated a punch when the J Squad went after him. He anticipated a few other things where they were looking for a car in that parking lot, saying we've tried this, and this.
Yeah,
this,
it
but not
hinted
this one.
at like he was in that position before.
I would not give it 13 years though. I don't doubt their math, but I'd have to watch it. But I would give it maybe 3 years.
Yeah, because they put into account every variable that was possibly another another death, they treated every possibility as its own separate life. Now they didn't combine any of it. Now there might be a death where they're trying to get through the beach and she dies and she tells him something about her personal life, and then they go on. So that's two variables put into one. So they kind of spread it out, but their estimation is about 13 years.
Yeah, I peg it anywhere from 3 to 13 years.
Yeah.
You know, we know it takes a long time. Like
Yeah, he trains to become a soldier. How many times, and then how long did it take him to like get to her? Because that scene where he finds her for the first time, and then like the mimic comes above the helicopter and he like shoots above him like a boss.
oh yeah.
Like how long did it take him to get there? Like because he had to know that.
And then the
well.
ship explodes, like, and he was like, "Oh, the ship is about to explode. Like, we gotta bounce." So we just know, like, maybe just in that scene, even though you don't see him, maybe he went through just that scene, like,
So they estimated in that scene 2 to 4 quote unquote deaths within that for them to find out that there's a MiG on the top and for it to explode.
Man, it's especially if it's 13 years. That scene. Oh, where she's like, how many days have we been here?
Yeah.
And then the scene at the end of the movie, and then there was one other one that I can't remember, where he was looking at her. Something happened, but he was just like looking at her.
She
And
was.
she's like, "Is there something on my face?" And he's like, "No."
I don't remember, but like that adds so much depth to that. Sorry, I keep interrupting
Very
you.
good. I kind of relate to this. Have any of you guys done those, like, it's these clear plastic balls and inside it's like a maze and there's a tiny little like pinball.
Oh yeah.
And you gotta like rotate. You gotta rotate the sphere. It's like a crazy maze on the inside. But you gotta rotate the sphere to get this ball to go through like this maze, and it's like you're twisting it, like going upside down, all sorts of stuff. And I remember I once did this. My buddy had one, and it legit, like, there were like 120 different like checkpoints in this thing. It has like numbers on it. It took me like 4 hours to do.
Oh,
because
because you can't go back to, like, if you're at number 50, you got to go all the way back to 1.
Exactly. Like, and part of it would be like I could try and like cheat to get to 50, but part of me is like I want to beat it like start to finish, one run. And so I noticed at first, like the 10th checkpoint was really hard. I was like, I didn't know how to like move the ball. But then after I did it long enough, like that became easy. And so when I'm on the 80th checkpoint, I could do the 10th like super quick.
Yeah.
But there were some times as I'm going along, I make a small mistake and I die on like the 20th. And it's like, dang it, It's like a little mistake. So I could relate to how like this movie is a lot like that. Like at first it's really hard, but after enough time and tries, you kind of get the hang of it. So when Bill does go back to the beach, and after doing it so many dang times, it just becomes like habit. You don't even have to think about it. So he's just like wrecking mimics left and right, and then like you get to the helicopter scene. Like I don't think we appreciate all the work and like time that goes into it. So I think that like plastic ball game is kind of like a cool way to relate.
Yeah, that is actually a really good way. And that also adds to like the scene where she doesn't want to talk about Hendrix. And doesn't she say like I watched him die like 300 times or something like that? So like alone, that's a whole year that she lived every day at his death. Like,
and that's only counting the times that she watched
him die. Yeah, like
she could have died first, or maybe
yeah. So like, but then the thing is, like, I just barely realized this time as we're talking about it, like when she lost her power, those memories and reliving that moment and that death over and over again, like, didn't go away. It's almost like you aged a year without aging a year.
Yeah.
But then like the world is unchanged and like you're old but you're not, and like.
And the movie even hinted at that. Like there was a couple scenes where it just shows Bill looking at Rita dead.
Yeah, that's what it was. She died, and he just was staring at her. It was one of the beach scenes, and she just died, and he was staring at her, and I was like, that would be awful. Like,
so I know this is kind of a cool binge point, but there's a scene when she dies when she tells him her middle name at the helicopter. Her middle name is Rose. Did you notice it was after that day that he decided to do it by himself? He didn't want to watch her die anymore. But if you noticed, he didn't decide that until he went back, saw her, and then he's like, never mind, I'm sorry to like disturb you or whatever. So part of me is thinking like maybe he knew he was going to do it alone from like the moment he woke back up again. But maybe he just wanted to see her alive. Like he wanted that last memory of her.
I needed her alive.
Just to see her alive and then leave.
You bring that up, and like this reminds me of when I was really young. I had a pet rat, and she died like an incredibly traumatic death. Like, long story short, got like launched across my bedroom, like in the air, and like smashed against the wall and was bleeding out, like, and having a seizure. And like me and my brother, we were little kids, and like it was just traumatizing for a kid to see, you know. Yeah. And I remember when she died, she was like, my dad was digging up a grave in our backyard to bury her, and she was like wrapped in a towel, and I kept unwrapping it and looking at her, and my mom was like, "Don't look at it, like remember her alive." And then like every single night, I would just cry and cry and cry because I would remember what she looked like when she was dead in that towel. Until like a week later, my mom printed me a picture of her like alive holding her when I was super little. Yeah. And that allowed me to sleep as a little kid. And like I remember that. So like that, but with like a person that you've lived with, maybe trained with, like had some serious emotional stuff with and died with. How many times now? Like, oh my goodness, that would seriously mess with you emotionally.
So, I mean, I don't know if the movie purposefully, like, was kind of tipping their hats off to show that, like, kind of psychological process of Bill Cage. But I think if they did, like, that's really cool just to show, like, how a natural, like, normal human being would react in those situations. So I think this movie did a great job of capturing just every range of emotion that someone would go through with that kind of like power.
Yeah.
But
off that tangent train, let's move on to the next segment.
Okay, real quick, I have one more that I really want to mention. So you guys remember when Cage loses his power, which by the way made it so intense.
Oh my god!
You're like shoot, like don't die, like.
But it's like hold on, that's like how every other movie is. Like then they just.
But it's see, like that's so much worse this time.
Yeah, because the movie sets it up where it's like death does not have as much like value and power as it does. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, this is legit now. Like you could die any second, and that's it. And you're like, oh my gosh. So it, like takes away the fear of death, but then like throws it right back in your face. So you notice when he's talking to J Squad, he's all like, look, if you guys run into an alpha, do not kill it. Like, you got to take one for the team because if you kill it, then they'll know we're coming and they'll kill us all. As they're flying in, you know, they don't know they're coming, supposedly, and then all of a sudden their ship just gets blown up and they, like, lose half the squad. So it makes you wonder, did they land there and they're going and then someone runs into an alpha, maybe they accidentally or, like, purposefully kill the alpha? So it makes you wonder, did, like, the mimics know they were coming? You know,
yeah, that's true. Like cool... Because they didn't. Someone might have said that like they knew they were coming of some sort, but that does hint toward it.
Like they knew we were coming. Or...
Like how, like we were. Did someone kill somebody? It's like. Yeah. But it's like, how can anybody know that we didn't? Because hasn't happened yet. But in a different.
Yeah, like, whoa! You go whoa! Whoa! I didn't think about that.
It's cool because like the movie doesn't explicitly like tell you if that happened. It's just more of like
you kind of miss it. It's just more of like
I didn't even think about that, but no, man. Okay, I had two other I'm reading from my notes here. Oh, just one of them. So the very first time that Cage goes to war, like, but with the time he dies and he gets the power, like the very first time, like it's shaky cam like crazy, and the cuts are like crazy fast. And they did something, I forget what it's called, but where like you film at a different frame rate, then you play it back, and it makes the screen like super shaky and like jittery, and it was like bothering me. And I was like, why do they do that? Like, this is horrible filming. And then I was like, oh, that's like, because that's what that would feel like. That's what going into war as an untrained person would feel like. Like that feeling I had, just like fast. Everything's even too fast to even comprehend, and like painful at the same time. And then the second time, the very second time he dies, he goes back and it like goes through the same memories, but it cuts it in a way, almost the way our memory does, where like we skip out all the boring details but remember the changes or the important things. Like so and I was like, whoa, like this is so like that was just really.
I really appreciated that because they said that dialogue, but then show.
I don't know, and like the way they did it, it wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna have the same dialogue, but it's a different scene. It was like they did it with an intent of portraying what memory really is like. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was so cool. I just really appreciate that. And how like well they made it feel like this is going to war for the first time when you're untrained. Like this is what it would feel like. It was sweet. So those are my binge points. But any others?
I think that wraps it up for me. So
yeah, I'm good.
That was a deep binge point.
That's a good one. All right, so that brings us to our next segment, which is leasts and likes. We talk about our least favorite scene and our favorite scene. So I will start us off with my least favorite scene. Thinking about it, I'd probably have to say, I don't know, maybe just like the bar scene, and not because like it was bad, but it was just like, I see how it was necessary. Like, I think it was crucial to show like the extent of Bill's like frustration and like his whole feeling of like being mundane. So I think that like just in terms of the rest of the movie, I really enjoyed it. It's all action and it's dope. It's just like kind of a slow burner scene, but I see how it's critical to the story. So I just say it's not like it was a bad scene or I didn't like it. It was just I liked it the least amount.
Mm-hmm.
That's mine.
I'd probably agree with you there. Because at that point in the story, I was so invested in the progression of his understanding of time that I was like, what are you doing? Like, come on. Like, but like, I agree with you. Like, it's really necessary and it really builds on his character super well. Like, it's very good writing and movie making, but like, of my enjoyment of the movie, that's the part I like the least. It's not that I dislike it, it's just I like it the least. So.
Exactly.
Okay, do you have a different one?
Least favorite scene, I'd say.
You know, I just noticed we named this segment Least and Likes and not Dislikes and Likes. Does that just prove that we...
necessarily a dislike that we have. It's just our least liked scene.
And our favorite scene.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny that like maybe we're just so positive we even have a hard time picking a scene we don't like.
I will say this though. That Sergeant Farrell.
Moody?
No, not him.
Well, the other guy.
The other guy. He's
Are you
like,
from America? Are you American? No, I'm from Kentucky.
That guy's funny, but he ticks me off. He's just like such a jerk. So when he had the squad
Those awful.
for you, Judgment Day.
It's Judgment Day.
That was okay. He was a perfect casting. I don't know who that actor is, but like he was a perfect casting.
But just when he had them eat the card, it's like, that was so weird. And the girl, like, after the sergeant left, she's like still chewing on
Why
it.
were her teeth like blue though?
Too many cards.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. I never thought about it. Wow, I love how fast you came up with that answer. Too many cards. It's like, what?
Did you even listen?
Were you paying attention? Did you see how vigorously she ate that thing?
Dude, it was like candy, dude. She's addicted to cards. Oh, okay, that was good.
All right, so Kellen, what was your favorite scene?
All right, my favorite scene. Oh, this gets tough. I love the climax, but it's really intense, almost kind of to the point of it's stressful because you're so worried that they like complete the mission. But I'd say probably my favorite scene is just watching when him and Rita are like, they know how to fight the mimics, and there's just that one scene where it shows them just going ham, balling out and just doing like these sick moves in their super suits. Because like, I felt like most of the time we didn't really see how the super suit like helped you, but we actually got to see it in actions. They do like these giant like super far jumps, or like he'd like slide on the ground, shoot, and then it like boost him back up, and he'd like go back into firing. That was just fun to watch. This is dope action.
Cool action.
And watching Rita just wreck mimics with a freaking helicopter blade, like that's just eye candy, to be honest. For an action movie, that's incredible. So I would say that's probably my favorite scene.
Mine, that would be an honorable mention. Mine, I have a hard time picking between the two. It was both of the emotional moments. The moment in the barn where Rita asked, how many times have we been here? No. Right before she asked that. When he's sitting down and he's like, oh, no, you like 3. Oh, yeah. And like,
It just kind
oh, like, oh. I don't know if you've ever felt, I'm sure everybody has. You feel that way towards someone where you're like, you like when you're dating someone or you're becoming friends with someone, like you learn the things that they like and like, it genuinely pleases you to please them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I could just like feel the emotion that he felt for her, that if he was thinking that he didn't want her to know that they would be there, he wouldn't have done that. But he was just thinking naturally that like he would cared about her. And so like something as simple as remembering how many things of sugar he liked just naturally came, and like that hit me. And then she started to understand, and like just the portrayal on their faces, both of them, like Tom Cruise looking up at her and her just Emily Blunt just looking at him. That was really well done. So,
sorry to interrupt, but like just of him being able to like take a step back. Oh, let's just have like some coffee or whatever, and like have a fire, take a break from this war. Which I'm sure for her, she's like, okay, we got to save the world, like kill these mimics, let's go, go, go. But like with him, it could be 13 years of living.
Oh yeah, and then he's like, why don't we just go back to the barn and like settle down and go to sleep and do it tomorrow? And like, I'm gonna get that tomorrow in my fall in, but like, so either that one. Again, the honorable mention was what you pointed out, or the very end where like he sees her and he gets really emotional and he just kind of like,
It's kind of laughs.
Like, it was just
like, oh, would you?
Oh, that just got me bad.
I've got something for you.
If it hadn't rolled credits right then and just like held it a little bit longer, I probably would have been in tears. But like the credits like shook me out of the emotion. I was like, what? It's over. Like, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I had a hard time picking.
All right, Cage, your favorite scene.
Favorite scene, I have to say it's what yours favorite scene was, where they just kind of, so it's J Squad, they're like trying to hunker down, they're trying to prepare for the battle, and then Bill Cage and Reva Tasky just comes in and just annihilate their competition, and they just
He's like
them
running around the
fools.
thing in a circle.
Goes over their head.
And it's like, what was his name again? That scene was just super epic because it just showed how in sync they were. And how all this dedication they've put into, okay, I'm stuck in this moment. I have to win the war. Like, he was single-handedly winning the war with her by his side. And it was that's what that scene was his attempt to win the war by himself. And so, it's such a sick scene. But I do want to say that I do love the point where. Standing by. Okay.
Standing by.
All right. That I want to say that's my favorite scene, but there was another scene I'm trying to remember. What? There was another one. It's when he just becomes this hardened veteran, like where he just.
When he's training and like Rita tells him like, look, if you come here every day, I could train you, and he's all like, you already have.
You already have.
Okay, honorable mention here to the dialogue in this movie.
It's good.
There's some sick moments and some funny ones too. Like, grab this, Sarge! Like,
grab this, Sarge!
Seriously, the dialogue was really good. Like, and you point out like he's like, you already trained me. Like, she wouldn't know that. Like, if that's the first time that she's telling him, come back and I'll train you. But she probably said that 18 times, and he's like, you already did every single time.
Yeah.
Like, because you have.
I would probably lose my freaking mind. I'm just like, shut up! Like, I'm so done. It's like, leave me alone. Like, which. Oh, okay, I'll wait for Fallen. Sorry, Cade.
Yeah, we have to wait for Fallen. This is a really good Fallen movie, but I'll just say this: that was my favorite scene. And end of it.
Alrighty, finally, as if we kind of just fell in and out a bunch. Live, die, repeat. Fall in. Let us actually fall in. So, if nobody minds, I'll go first with mine super quick. Kelton pointed this out. I think it was in your 2 cents. When life gets pretty mundane, and I had an experience driving here this morning. I was talking to my wife on the phone and talking about, I don't remember exactly what I said, but trying to figure out our schedules and trying to figure out how to spend time together, but also accomplish things that we want to do by also going to work and going to school and like meeting all the requirements of life, if you want to call that. But at the same time, like trying to make more of your life so you don't have to meet the requirements as, like we're all doing it, okay? Hustle. But like talking to her and like I had a realization that like how stressful it was for her and like how much strain it put on a relationship. I was just like, I don't care if I have to give up on everything, if it just like allows us to just be at peace with life and just like continue like live peacefully. But not that I am, but like life doing the same thing over and over again, especially when you're doing the same thing over and over again to change the world or save the world in this case, like that, there gets a point where you're just like, I've had too much, like thrown in the towel. What is the point? I think he says that so many times, like, what is the point? So the Mimics don't kill us in the helicopter. They'll kill us later. It's like, especially, yeah. Like, I don't know where I was going with this. I just was like really impressed with like how you can't have that mentality. You'll never change anything if that's your mentality. And that was a really small Fallen, but one that impacted me.
there's a lot of things you can go into this about falling in. It's the point where if someone, okay, let's just say he was stuck in that day for 13 years. Okay, let's just say that. And he has lived this life that no one knows about. Everyone's doing the exact same thing. Everyone's responding the same way as he is. So there's some points where he runs away and just gets drunk at the bar. How many times did he go to the bar? Did he just go once? I don't think so. I think he went there multiple times. There's points where I bet he went through phases where he tried this over and over again, where he was just kind of driving himself insane, and then he moved on to another attempt. And there's this movie kind of reminds me of, if you want to accomplish something that you've never done before, you have to do something that you've never done before. And this is a very perfect example of that. That you keep doing the same thing, you'll end with the same result. But how do you going through that experience and then now how losing it and winning the war? How do you live on with that? I want to know. What is that like? He has these quote unquote 13 years of experience that he now just didn't really. He got all that experience in the way this movie started and ended, like that. And because the way it ended at the very, very end, I can't really. There's so many messages that you can come out of this movie, but I think the one thing that I want to hit hard on was that throughout him having to go through this over and over and over again, he wanted to bring someone with him, and that was, I can't remember her name. Rita.
Or Emily. While you were talking about it, I just thought about like the title of the film, like The Edge of Tomorrow. Like, what a horrible way to live, where you literally are constantly on the edge of tomorrow, meaning like almost like the edge of progression. That like he was, I don't know, what is it? He was growing, maybe mentally. I don't know what the right word is to use there, but like his experiences, that's what I'm searching for. He kept experiencing life, but he never progressed because it was the same day. No one ever went with him. No one progressed with him, and it was like constantly the edge of tomorrow, the edge of something more than today. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And not that my life is to that extreme and all, but like that gets hard, and I'm sure everyone experiences that. Where like, whether it's with a person or something you care about, like trying to bring that to tomorrow, like to the point of progression, and not just, especially in a relationship where like he was progressing with her and she was just like knew him for one day every single time, and like you're constantly on the edge of that progression because she has to make it to tomorrow, but she can't.
Yeah. So think about it. So he's gone through all these experiences over and over. Now she's always reacting how.
She always reacts.
That always reacts because to her it's always just the first day. That's how it always is, and she feels that she's going to be different every single time, but it's not. And I wanted to say something, so I'm trying to think of it. So I'll let Kelton.
Oh, sorry for interrupting you, but you pointed that out. I just realized, sorry, I'm talking too much, but like that's those montage scenes where they're in like that basement layer and he's showing her the map and he's like, when you get to this point, you got to like, you got to do this and then look right. You know what? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I just like, it just barely clicked for me that like she had to learn everything every single day. Like he remembered telling her the day before, and like it just dawned on me that like every single time it was a new memory for her. Like he was learning like, oh yeah, this last time you died because you didn't turn the right way, and she has to learn that and everything before it every single time.
And do it in like.
And like every single time, there's more and more things that she has to learn again for the first time, which is so weird to think about. Like I would lose my patience, like trying to teach someone, and it's like, how do you not remember? Like I just told you, like.
Every day, like 2 hours of telling someone the exact same thing over and over again.
Oh my god, I would.
That'd be really, really hard. And it shows that he's just kind of watching her and just trying to memorize it and stuff. And he's like,
no wonder he turned. Oh my gosh, man, that would be so hard.
Yeah, so my segment of Fallen is pretty much kind of the same idea what you guys were saying, but like I think a big part of like our life is connecting with others. And we talk about how Bill Cage is trying to connect with Rita, because right now she is one of the two people who even understands remotely what he's going through. Because Rita obviously had the same power; she knows what it's like. But in this exact moment, no one knows how Bill is feeling, like, at all. Which is, you kind of think about, like, how alone he must feel. Like, yes, he could have a friend. He has to go explain, like, look, I have the same power as you. But, like, can you imagine you're trying to be friends with someone, but they don't know you? Like, and how just, like, even when he wants to go have a break, he drives to a bar and he just gets a drink. Even then, he gets called a coward. Like, can you imagine how alone you would feel?
And even the one person he connects with, I'm realizing as we talk about it, for him, it's a continual relationship of connection and empathy.
Yeah.
But it's completely one way because every time for her, it's a brand new relationship of empathy. Like it's a brand new bridge that was never there.
Exactly.
Like Kate said, it's the same reaction every time. And like, oh my gosh, you would feel alone.
Yeah, and imagine, like Kate says, 13 years of that. So it would be, so I would...
How would it feel at year 6?
Well, I'd feel like he was, like, okay, there's no hope, I'm gonna go freaking get a drink, you know?
And then like the thing is he can't get out of it. Like he's either going to try to succeed and go to battle and die, or he's going to go to the bar and get killed by a bunch of mimics. And it's like, he has no... Oh my gosh, this like just takes what I said to the next level. Like sometimes you really genuinely feel like you're repeating the same thing over and over again. And like no matter what you do, whether you go to the bar and drink or you actually try and change something, you're right back where you started. Yeah. Like whether it's with connections or life. And like, man, this is like surprisingly deep. At the beginning of this, okay, before we started the podcast, I've said like I'm probably not going to say anything and fall in, and now I realize that like this is actually really deep.
Yeah, like here's another thing. They didn't show this, but I'm sure there's a point where I'm just gonna go and not worry about this war and not think about this war whatsoever. I'm gonna escape and I'm gonna go somewhere and just peace and quiet the whole day. Just sit there, just no noise at all. And then at the end of the day, kill yourself because like I can put it off because I got all the time in the world.
All right, guys, I want to point something out here. So if he lived, if he went through this for 13 years, how many times was he called maggot? 3 times a day. Would you not just, like, want to kill that dude? And, like, you just think of, like, each of the stupid, boring, mundane details and, like, crappy parts of your day, you have to live through it. Like, think about it. Even with J-Squad, they all hate him because he's, like, a deserter. No one believes him. They all think he's a liar, except, like, he has Rita with him, but he has to, like, explain, and she, barely friends, like, getting to know him.
Oh, my gosh. He was called maggot at least, if it was 13 years, 14,000 times.
I think after the 400th time, you just wouldn't hear it anymore.
I mean, you would, but still, like...
Oh, my gosh.
Man,
this is
how
so deep.
It's like an
frustrating
alarm clock
would that be? But everyone hates their alarm clock.
This is like such a weird, profound like expression of life and like the ability to like overcome the mundane, but also like the intense complexity and of overcoming it, but also like the almost like natural conclusion of giving into it and just like accepting it as unavoidable.
So I think the message that I'm trying to like talk about with with my fallen is that like, yes, like this is so freaking mundane and it sucks sometimes. And when we feel like that, like in our lives, like man, like the other day I had a moment where it's like, freak, I'm going to work every day for like the rest of my life, pretty much. Like Monday through Friday, go to work. Like, frick that, dude, that sucks. It sounds so boring. But like living my life now, like I really try and just have fun, like whether it's talking with people or at work, just like singing to myself or just entertaining myself, like just looking for those moments or hanging out with buddies or going on dates, who knows what. But just those little moments that you just kind of like appreciate. Maybe it's your moment to just sit down and have like coffee or whatever, kind of like relating to Bill and Rita before they take the helicopter. Just to sit down and relax and kind of just like enjoy the moment. Or just looking for those things that, yeah, this sucks, but, I do enjoy this, so I can't control everything else around me right now, maybe. So why not just, like, sit down and be able to, like, control what I can control.
I tell my wife that all the time. That's one of my phrases, control what you can control. But another one that Kate made me think of is one that I had a big mentor always tell me. He said, if we always do what we have always done, we will always get what we have always gotten.
That's dope.
But especially what you were saying made me think that, like, sure, every single day could be mundane, and sometimes, no matter how hard you try, really, really turns into the same thing over and over again with no success. But at the same time, like, you look at him and you see that, like, he won because every single day he chose to believe that this was the day that he would win. You know, this is the day that they would kill the, what does they call it? Not the alpha, but the whatever, the brain. Yeah. Like you think about it, for the Omega. Yeah, for 13 years, every single day, he had to believe, like genuinely believe, that this is the day I kill the Omega. And like, if not, this is the day that I learn how to get one step closer. And like, that's such a good mentality in life, that like, I may be doing the same thing over and over again, but like every single day I'm getting further, and then I'm going to do the same thing over, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to get even further.
Taking the best that you can from each day.
Yeah. And then there's like, eventually you make it to tomorrow.
Yep.
Man, we're so
Get to tomorrow, guys. We believe in you.
Shall we
Be like Bill Cage. Become a super soldier and kill aliens.
Hopefully you have someone as great as Emily Blunt to go with you.
Yeah, and just hot too.
Yeah, she was shredded in this movie. Like, not like Jack, but like she really was in good shape.
Side perk for this. Side perk for having to go through this. You don't age. 13 years, you don't age a day.
Except your brain, dude.
Oh, the emotion.
But I'm just talking about some sort of positivity out here. So, anyhow, let's wrap this up.
Man, that was a really, really good movie. I already liked this movie. It was one of those movies, you know, like Transformers, where you're like, you know what, I'm in the mood for a Transformers movie, and you watch it and you just have a good time. This just went up like 20 notches, like into my top 10, maybe even top 5, where it's like, yeah, sure, I'm in the mood for Edge of Tomorrow, like great action, good story, good acting, but like, then sometimes you're like, I'm in the mood for Edge of Tomorrow, like, you know what I mean? Like, wow, this got so much better.
Yep. No, dude.
So yeah, everybody go watch this movie if you have not. Even if you've seen it before, go rewatch it.
Repeat, baby.
Yeah, and then do it all over again. So anyway,
Well,
thanks
for the long haul, everybody. If you guys lasted to the end of this podcast, true homie.
Yeah, and thank you for always listening to the end of the podcast if you do, and for downloading and subscribing and telling your friends and doing all the things that we hound you to do. We appreciate it greatly. Next week, okay, I need to decide. All right. So I originally picked Ender's Game because I just reread the series because it's one of my favorites, so I wanted to watch the movie again. Should we stick with kind of like the sci-fi theme and watch Ender's Game? Or should we watch...
Your call.
Nah, sure, we'll watch it. We'll just... I want to watch it. We'll watch that. Okay. Next week, Ender's Game.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
I haven't seen it. So
Have you
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, okay. Have either of you read the book?
I've read the book. Just the first one.
Just the first one, okay. Anyway.
Okay.
Edge of Tomorrow, great movie. Everyone, thanks for listening. Talk to you next week. Ciao, ciao.
What do you do, baby?
Is that home dogs?